Hi, you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation. Woo!
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So the most feared man in the middleweight division does it again. He stops Luke Keeler in the 9th round, dropped him twice. Matter of fact, in one of the most impressive knockdowns I've seen in a while, the opening shot, the first punch that Demetrius Andrade threw, which was a lead left hand, it knocked down and even hurt Keeler. Boo-boo, he would knock down Keeler with the same lead left hand later on in that round, and he pretty much did what he wanted to do in this fight. He looked really good. You know, I was starting to wonder, will Demetrius Andrade start losing motivation? You know, will he start slacking getting into the ring because he can't get the guys that he really wants to fight in the ring? And that clearly wasn't the case in this fight, because Demetrius Andrade, he put on a sensational performance. Now, speaking of putting on a great performance, it's kind of ironic. Canelo Alvarez, he said he's not going to fight Demetrius Andrade because he doesn't like his style. So once again, the translation is he doesn't like someone being too difficult to beat. He doesn't like a southpaw who's 6'3", who knows how to fight on the inside, fights on the outside, who's damn near just as slick as a Floyd Mayweather, has speed, is extremely versatile. That's what he means when he says, I don't like his style. He's saying, I may not be able to beat this guy. So with him saying that, the only other really big fight for Demetrius Andrade would be against Jermall Charlo. Once again, if Andrade cannot corner a Canelo Alvarez or a Gennady Golovkin. Speaking of Canelo and Golovkin, before I elaborate on the whole Jermall Charlo situation, you know, I'm gonna tell you, man, DAZN, they're treating Demetrius Andrade just like HBO was treating Floyd Mayweather. And when I say HBO, I'm talking about his detractors that was supposed to be on his same team, which is Jim Lampley and Larry Merchant, and then later on, Max Kellerman. It was like Floyd was part of the HBO family, but they treated him like the redheaded stepchild. And I feel DAZN is doing the same thing with Demetrius Andrade. The reason why I say this is because of the racial disrespect that was shown in the post-fight interview with reporter Chris Mannix. So Chris is interviewing Demetrius Andrade. Now, we all know that when it comes to what does Demetrius Andrade, Golovkin, and Canelo have in common, they all fight under the same banner. They all fight for DAZN, right? That means they're supposed to be a part of that DAZN family. So when Chris is interviewing Demetrius Andrade, he says, you know, is it really getting frustrating for you to not get the fights that you want? And then he says, have you given up on fighting? And, you know, obviously we're thinking he's going to say Golovkin, Canelo, and he ends up only mentioning Charlo's name. Now, I want you guys to just think about this for a second. When have you ever heard PBC interviewing a PBC fighter and completely ignoring all the other PBC fighters in his division that wants to fight him, just to talk about someone who's not even with PBC? You see what I'm saying? This guy, Chris Mannix, he purposely ignored talking about Golovkin and Canelo because he personally doesn't want Andrade to have a shot of beating these guys. So he only mentions Charlo because it's two black guys. They don't care if it's two black guys fighting. I mean, to them, that's the lesser of two evils. It's extremely offensive. You're not going to mention the fact that Gennady Golovkin, who's a champion and fights for DAZN, you have Canelo, who fights at 160, 168, and 175. And even if you want to say Canelo doesn't fight at 160 anymore, well, there's no problem there because Andrade is already planning on moving up to 168 to fight BJ Saunders next. So there's no excuse. There is no excuse at all for this reporter to completely ignore mentioning Golovkin or Canelo's name as possible opponents for Demetrius Andrade in the future. Now, this is not the first time that Chris Mannix of DAZN actually dissed Demetrius Andrade, because the last time Gennady Golovkin fought and Demetrius Andrade got in the ring, which is what fighters often do, especially when they're under the same umbrella, to promote another future big fight between the two. He gets in the ring, and the DAZN people, they stop him from approaching Gennady Golovkin. And Chris never even mentions that Demetrius Andrade is in the ring. He just completely ignored him as if he was not even in the ring. This is what they do for fighters on the Hope list. They are willing to go out of their way to protect them from possibly losing to a black fighter. For these type of people, it's not about boxing. It's not about providing the fights that real boxing fans really want to see. It's all about race when it comes to them. And when I say them, I'm referring to biased, extremely biased reporters like Chris Mannix. I mean, we see fighters jump in the ring, once again, PBC fighters. We see Errol Spence jump in the ring to challenge Deshaun Porter. We see Danny Garcia jump in the ring to challenge Errol Spence. We see this all the time in the sport of boxing. But all of a sudden, they don't want Andrade to get in the ring and even be seen standing next to Gennady Golovkin, because they know if the boxing world sees that, that would put more pressure on Golovkin to take the actual fight. So even though it's a DAZN reporter who's saying this, if DAZN is not doing anything to reprimand or even fix the situation, then they're condoning it. They're not stopping Chris Mannix from completely disrespecting the champion in the middleweight division or one of the champions in the middleweight division. So once again, if they're not stopping it, then they're condoning it. So at the end of the day, congratulations to Demetrius Andrade, another successful title defense. I'm gonna go ahead and end this video, but I'm gonna make another video talking about Demetrius Andrade and what he's most likely gonna do next. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.